Spence. Hey, Mary Beth. I mean, Doug. Oh,
Got to use her
How
computer.
are you guys?
wonderful.
Don't need that anymore.
Better. Spencer, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can.
I'm gonna back Don up tonight because you got one last chance to get that flag right, because I didn't see the flag at the last meeting either.
Oh,
Just want to be the two old guys got to stick together here.
Hey.
Hey, I got a flag prime ready here. Hey,
Okay,
Jeff's
all
my
right.
backup.
Just want Don to know I got him covered.
I had that one last week.
I didn't see one when I replayed it either, Spencer.
Great.
I got a flag too, but
Thank God
I don't think it's the right one.
this is the last.
Here, check that out. We're pretty comfortable over here. Can you see the poodling and it's hard to tell. I don't know how to get that any bigger.
Looks like he's hugging the pillow.
Pretty much, yeah. He's just,
Yeah, mine does.
oh, there we go. Now we got a little movement.
Did you notice last meeting that when you took the vote for adjourning, that Shelby raised her paw to vote yay to adjourn?
Did not.
It was quite the moment in our life. I'm disappointed you didn't notice.
I might have to replay that.
Maybe she'll have an encore tonight.
It'll be good to see. It'll be good to get back to council chambers.
Can I bring Shelby with me to council chambers?
Sure. We can give it a shot.
I bring her into the office every once in a while.
Do you?
Yeah.
Spencer, you got your volume better or your audio better?
Well, I think so. Nobody said they can't understand me yet.
That's definitely better.
All right, good. Thank God. Third time's a charm. We go, how many months and there's not a problem?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, the last meeting, I had problems.
Of course. Did you want me to come over and fix it?
Yeah, would you please?
Okay. I'll head right on over.
Yeah, thanks.
Are we having comments from citizen tonight, Don, or is that
We
just
are.
on the agenda?
We are going to give that a shot. I
We
don't
have
know.
131 people that subscribe to our channel now on YouTube. I think when we started before Zoom, I think we had like 10. Now we're at 131 people that have watched us over this
That's nice.
time.
Wow. Maybe we'll get a second season.
Yeah.
Can I vote no on that second season? I mean, just throwing that out there.
People must be bored then.
I was going to say a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands. Hey, Spencer, speaking of that, the TV outside.
I'm on their hands.
Yeah, the TV outside the council chambers.
Yeah.
Can we do the live video on there? During the meeting?
Probably. I would need to, Alphalink set that up. I will head down. I'm in downtown Wednesday.
Okay.
While I'm downtown, I'll pop in and look and see how that TV is wired up and what it's wired to, and see what we can alter that with.
I was just thinking after we talked, we had a huge crowd. It'd be nice to, if you had it on there at least, since we can only get 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, did any?
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Talk to our videographer.
I have talked to Everett quite a bit, but I can call and tell him that, hey, we're coming back on
Talk to him
on the
also.
6th.
I talked to him and told him that we probably were going to be back on the 6th, and that would let him
Oh,
know
well,
for
then,
sure. Yeah,
then I don't need to.
yeah. I'll give him a call. I told him I'd call him again, so.
If he wants that camera from the school system, they're offering a high definition wide angle camera.
I'll
So-
mention that when I call him.
Okay. Okay. Matt Dunham at Newark High School is the contact.
Okay.
So we got everybody but D, it looks like.
I think David just scuttled out of his office to go get her hooked up.
That's what I was thinking. Yep. Okay. Well, here we are. As soon as we get D here, we'll get going. Quiet group.
Wait till we're sitting in those plastic boxes between committees in the full meeting.
Oh, for God's sake, get off the boxes. It'll be real quiet then. Maybe we'll just leave them up all the time.
I think Jeremy was envisioning like the cone of silence from Get Smart. When it comes down and there's a big bubble over here.
The cone of silence, yes.
And it
Be
like
careful,
echoes
that might
and you
be
can't
in-
hear anything.
Be careful, that might be in part 2.
I told Mark I'd be sure to bring my dry erase markers so I can write him on the message.
Hi, D.
Anxious to see who face plants into the plexiglass first.
You
Thankful for
know
that
it'll be
orange
me.
tape.
I'm gonna stand up and turn and bang.
I think it's back enough that you won't have that problem. It'll be
I hope not.
okay. All right, let me find a pen. Are we ready, Spence?
Yes.
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 Okay. I'd like to call this meeting of your Newark City Council, June 15th, 2020 to order. Janine, please call the roll.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Here.
Mr. Bob,
Here.
Mr. Fennell,
Here.
Ms. Hall,
Here.
Mr. Harris,
Here.
Mr. Labutus,
Here.
Mr. Lang,
Present.
Mr. Marmee,
Present.
Mr. Rath.
Mr. Rath, there we go. Okay. We have all here this evening. Next on the agenda is the invocation by Mr. Labutus. Mr. Labutus.
All right, pray. Heavenly Father, as we come and pray this evening, we thank you for this time we can come together and discuss the business of the city. I ask that you be with us this evening in our discussions and be with our decisions and bless our city, state, and country during this time. These things I ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Labutus. Next, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Aha, how about that, Mr. Sasson? Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job, Spence.
I told you I had it back.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have caucus. That's a time for council to discuss anything pertaining to the agenda tonight. Do we have anything? I do have one thing. We're going to try citizens' comments tonight. If anyone would like to call in, I'm going to read you the number, although Spencer is going to put it up on the screen also. The number is 301-715-8592. You need to dial in that number. Then the meeting ID, which is on there, is 896-2329-1461. And the password is 435921. That will be for citizens' comments. If you would like to make a comment, that'll be here just a little bit on the agenda. That will be your opportunity. We'll wait a minute here. Okay, perfect. Next, we have the minutes of our June 1st, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those?
Motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Labutus, second by Mr. Bub. All those in favor signify by saying aye, or thumbs up, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. There are no appointments this evening. There are 3 reports from standing committees, one from finance, one from service, and one from rules. Without objection, those will be received and filed. We have one report this evening from our city auditor, Stephen Johnson, the operating report for the period ending May 31st, 2020. Without objection, that'll be received and filed. And we have one communication from a Natasha Heskett, 42 Oakwood Avenue, discussing the property next door. And I know the chief of police has been in contact with her. Next on the agenda, we have comments from citizens. Again, that is your time to dial in. And if you do have a comment, we're going to hang on just a minute, see if Spencer gets anybody. Again, if you'll just call that number, 301-715-8592. And the meeting ID is 896-232-1461. And the meeting password is 435921. Spencer, look like we have anybody this evening?
Not yet, but do remember that we are on a delay. So we're going to need to wait a little bit longer.
Okay, perfect. Again, 301-715-8592. Somebody wake up Mr. Rath. Now, there we go.
Don, I do not have anybody calling in, and the information is on our YouTube stream right now because I'm watching it also.
Okay,
So
I'll tell you.
there's
I'll
no
tell
one
you,
calling in right now.
if somebody would happen to call in, we can do the other section of citizens' comments after the legislation. So if they would call in, we'll allow that. How's that? Okay, there's no ordinances on the second reading or first reading tonight. There is no resolutions on the second reading, but there are resolutions on the first reading. 20-38. Janine?
Resolution number 20-38 by Mr. Marmee. A resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
Mr. Marmee?
Mr. President,
Mr. Marmee,
I make a motion to waive the 2-day reading rule on resolution 20-38.
motion to waive the 2-day reading rule by Mr. Marmee,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Bub. Mr. Marmee,
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a payout for somebody who retired. So we always expedite those so we can get the funds to them as quickly as possible.
thank you, Mr. Marmee. Janine, please call the roll to waive the 2-day reading rule.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
yes,
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
2-day reading rule has been waived. Mr. Marmee,
Thank you, Mr. President. Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-38.
motion to adopt by Mr. Marmee,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Bub. Is there any discussion on 20-38? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
yes,
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
20-38 passes 10-0. Next on the first reading, we have 20-39.
Resolution number 20-39 by Mr. Rath and Mr. Marmee, a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Newark to enter in a community development block granted funded subrecipient agreement with the hereinafter named organizations to carry out activities included within Newark's FY 2020 Community Development Block Grant 1-year action plan.
Good news about that is you'll get to read that again in 2 weeks. 20-39 will be held for 2 weeks. And next we move on to 20-40.
Resolution number 20-40 by Mr. Rath, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio, to enter into a contract without competitive bidding for the construction of underground electrical and other utility infrastructure in the downtown area.
And 20-40 will be held for 2 weeks for a second reading. And that concludes our legislation tonight. Mr. Barker, do we have anybody calling in? Nope. Okay.
We do not.
Do we have any city officials this evening?
Yes, Don, I would like to speak.
Mr. Baum, Director Baum.
I attended the Black Lives Matter rally on June the 2nd, and I'd like to pass out some thank yous. I had a great experience. Director Rhodes and I attended, along with Chief Connell and some of his people and Sheriff Thorpe. We talked to some of the protesters. Everyone was grateful for the police presence. I would like to thank Chief Connell and his people for doing such a fine job planning for the event. I'd also like to thank the protesters for showing up and exercising their right to peacefully protest. I don't think it could have gone off much better. And we're going to have another one on July the 19th, as far as I know. I haven't seen anything else about it, but I did get a flyer from a Newark High student who is planning a candlelight vigil Friday night on the square. She simply asked that everyone bring a candle and wear black. Again, I wanted to just reach out and say thank you to the people that peacefully protested and the chief and the sheriff for doing such a great job. Thank you.
Director Baum, did you say July 19th or June 19th?
June 19th, this Friday.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other city officials? Honorable Law Director.
President, I will pass.
Thank you, Director Sassen. Mayor Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll pass this evening too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Barker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I would first like to say thank you to Director Baum and the NPD, Chief Connell, Officer Carls. I saw a video of him dancing with some kids at the rally. And it was nice to see that it remained peaceful and that it looked like people had a great time. So again, thank you to everyone who went to that and who just kept the peace and made it a great time for those people to, exercise their First Amendment right. I also would like to give a shout out to the crews and the volunteers that have been working up at the Horns Hill project. Director Rhodes took me there last week, and I got to meet the team of people who are working on the Horns Hill trails. And they have been successful in getting some local community grants and are seeing people from out of state coming to ride the trails at Horns Hill, which is great. There was a social media post about a family that came from Indiana and they rode the trails and they had a fantastic time. And I'm looking forward to the further development of those trails for not only our residents, but visitors here to our community. It's a great asset we have that some people don't know about in the Horns Hill area if they've not been up that way. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at those and get with Director Rhodes on that. He's been instrumental in helping with that. And with that, Mr. President, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. Mr. Blake.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since our last meeting, I received interest from a number of individuals, people of goodwill and genuine concern wishing to reactivate and serve on the serve our city on the Human Relations Commission. I plan to forward these individuals and their contact information onto the mayor. He's the actual one who appoints people to the commission, and then we just confirm the appointments. So I'm hoping to get that information to the mayor this week, and then hopefully we can begin that commission anew with everything going on in our city and our nation at this time. Secondly, not knowing of another opportunity to provide input and all of us having seen the list of candidates for the position of police chief, I believe that our city and our citizens deserve the best. It seems to me that our next police chief needs to be a leader that will cooperate with all residents, a person that will meet and engage in conversation with each of our constituents and us, each as elected officials. The police chief is a leadership post in our city that requires understanding and creativity to ensure that all of our residents' safety concerns receive a response, regardless of the neighborhood that they live in, and a person that will gather information before making decisions. A leader that will not use their physical presence to bully or dominate others, but to show empathy and mercy to concerned citizens. I believe the police chief needs to be a person of character to lead our patrol officers and the whole department to provide the best quality of service. And the chief should lead by example and being a mentor to those who work in our city. And my constituents and the people that I serve in our city wish for a police chief who will uphold their public oath, bring honor to protect and serve all, and develop community relations through trust. And then finally, Mr. President, last note, I just want to wish to invite all of you to the Juneteenth event this Friday evening. The event is being held by young people in our city, in particular, Carmen Lewandowski, that's a name, but Carmen is most definitely pulling together people. She's a high school student. And for those of you that don't know, Juneteenth commemorates the date in 1865 when Black Americans who were enslaved in Galveston, Texas, were informed that slavery had been abolished. This was actually 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. And so the event this Friday, people, if you come to attend, people can expect prayers from local pastors. There will be an open mic, music, and a candlelight vigil, and the event begins at 6:30 p.m. on Friday. And I hope you all accept the invitation and join us on the square this Friday evening. Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll yield.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Mr. Bub.
I will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bub. Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also just like to express my gratitude to the Black community here in Newark for all of their incredible organization and eloquence in making sure that their voices are heard. And I was also, watching all of this footage, of protests, and then on my news feed came up the news feed of the protests here in Newark, and it was something that actually made me really proud of being in Newark. How everything happened with the police and all of our citizens. So I just really commend the city of Newark and the citizens of Newark for coming out and really coming together around this difficult issue. So I just wanted to commend everyone on all of the Black Lives Matter protests that are happening and continue to happen throughout the month. Of course, I would like to also remind everybody that this is Pride Month as well. So happy Pride to everyone. And with that, I will yield.
Thank you, Mr. Fennell. Ms. Hall.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. I wanted to thank David Rhodes and you and Chad Brown for your work in chambers. I think we're all kind of anxious to get back a little bit. And I think we can work through it and kind of play it by ear, but I think it's going to work. I think it looks great down there. Thank you. Also, I want to thank Jeff Harris and Steve Baum and Property Maintenance for your support and oh my gosh, back up at 42 Oakwood. That was kind of ongoing. I think things might have calmed down now, but I got pulled into that right at the beginning. I really needed support, so I really thank you guys. Thanks again, and everybody take care and be safe.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mr. Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to thank Spencer for everything he's done for us to have these meetings and setting up everything, and things went smooth. And thanks for all that, Spencer. I'm looking forward to get back into council chambers. Also, I want to thank Service Director Rhodes, Safety Director Baum, and Joe Paul. I had a meeting with him, I don't know, a week or so ago about some issues about property maintenance. And out of that meeting, we're going to try to add another person to property maintenance. Just get it figured out, and maybe at the beginning of next year, hopefully we can able to hire someone in that department. And I hope maybe Ryan can call a personnel meeting on the 6th and we can discuss it with everyone. So I want to thank you guys for that. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Labutus.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wanted to thank Mr. Barker for all of his work over the past few months to make sure our meetings get online on Zoom and make us all look good online. And secondly, wanted to thank Vertical 196. They were the organization that kind of headed this up, but it was through the generosity of many others in the community that through from the beginning of April through the end of May, they were able to deliver over 27,000 free lunches to various people that asked for lunches over those time. It started off with, I think, about 300 per day and got over to at least 650 they were delivering every day. They were putting together. So thanks to Scott Hayes and everyone that was involved with that. I know there were many people throughout the community involved in that. So thank you to them for doing that during that time. With that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Labutus. Mr. Lang.
Yeah, thank you everyone who's been working on getting us back to council chambers safely or to back to a physical meeting. I know we looked at a number of different options. We had folks on the school board, working with us, and Jeremy, appreciate what you were doing there, and Don and Dave, really appreciate the thought that went into, and also Chad coming down and looking at everything. I'm happy to see the progress that was made there, and that we were able to come up with a solution that gets us back. That we've got some input from our health director, which is great to get back to a situation that everybody's going to feel comfortable with. Yeah, and I guess I also want to thank Joe Paul, Nick Schultz, George Carter, all looking at a couple of issues for me. Appreciate your continued partnership and work on that. With that, I'll pass. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Mr. Marmee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I need to call a finance committee meeting for the 6th of July. Also, in looking at that flyer, I don't even remember who indicated it, but it says it starts at 7:30, not 6:30. So just to clarify that. And then I'd like to welcome Bill Spurgeon back to the team. I understand he's going to be our new HR director. So I want to welcome him back. He definitely was a huge asset previously, and he went off and did some bigger and better things with the state. And now I understand he's got a passion to come back to Newark and do a little bit more for Newark. So I'm very happy to hear that he'll be back joining the mayor's team. So, and with that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Marmee. And Mr. Rath.
Thank you. I'll start out with a call at a service committee meeting. Wanted to say thank you to Steve Baum and Chief Connell and everybody at the Newark Police Department, as well as the Licking County Sheriff's Department, and everybody else that was in attendance at the rally last week. I was there as well, although you're not going to find any video capturing me dancing. But nonetheless, I was there, and it was a great event. Very proud of the city of Newark and the citizens of Newark, and I will most likely be down there again this Friday as well. Glad to hear about Bill Spurgeon coming back. He was an incredible asset when he was here before, and I think he'll do great at that HR position. Really looking forward to having him in there and having his leadership. That's pretty awesome. In light of all the activity and going around in other cities and all the trends and the protests and all of that stuff, I don't know, I just want to say it publicly, so Mr. Baum hears that he can relay this to the police department. I personally am not going to ever cast a vote ever to defund our police. In fact, Mr. Ellington came up with a better slogan, a different slogan, and that was defend our police. Quite honestly, I think if you want to have better interaction with the police and our citizens, I think the best way to do that is quite simply to put more boots on the streets. That will definitely help relieve a lot of stress. It will give them an opportunity to see that they're actually making a difference, rather than just running from call to call to call to call to call to call. It's a very stressful position, and I can see how that would build up on you over time, especially if it doesn't look like things are getting any better. Not saying that they're not, because they are, but I just want to go on record as saying I wholeheartedly support them, and we'll continue to do so. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Rath. I'd like to add, I was down to the protest that I think it was Tuesdays ago. They were absolutely very respectful. They did what a protest was supposed to do. They didn't break up anything. They weren't rioting, but they got their voice heard, and they did a great job. I'd like to add my welcome to Bill Spurgeon, our new HR director. He was, as Mr. Marmee said, he was part of the team before and did a great job. So I'll be anxious to see him back. Maybe we can have him at council July 6th. And also my final thanks to Spencer, who has put these meetings together. He's done a great job, except for maybe tonight on his audio, but he's done a terrific job. I really appreciated it. If it was up to me to do these Zoom meetings, we'd still be working on the first one. So I appreciate it, Spencer, and thank you so much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Labutus, second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor, give me a thumbs up. We will see, or Paul up. We will see you our next meeting on July 6th back in council chambers. So with that, we're adjourned.